My name's Jody. I appreciate you all coming today. I'm going to be speaking on basically the myth that animal experimentation is necessary for human health. Sorry. My presentation is called "But We Love Our Animals and Other Laboratory Lies." Basically, whenever a laboratory is exposed with a violation of the Animal Welfare Act, the university spokespeople will give almost every excuse in the book, but we love our animals. The goal is to basically help animal advocates refute these constant lies, point out these issues in the media and social platforms, because I really believe the way to end this cruelty is by exposing the constant negligence and incompetence that is rampant in animal experimentation labs. Since mid-May, CFES has exposed 11 violations of the Animal Welfare Act at animal laboratories throughout the United States. This meme is just recent from Tuesday. This is the University of Nebraska Medical Center. From the USDA inspection report, there was an incident that took place in December 2015. The attending veterinarian inspected a rabbit for a post-surgical procedure. Basically, the veterinarian treated it as an open wound and let it heal. Research personnel decided to do something their own way. They decided to anesthetize the animal and close the wound without consulting the attending veterinarian. Well, the next day the rabbit was found dead. Another one I recently found was at GlaxoSmithKline, a laboratory. A primate basically figured out how to open the latch to her cage, and so she was able to get her head out. The mechanism unlocked. She got her head stuck between the space between the wall and the water device, and she was found dead the next morning. I don't have responses from either of those labs yet, but if we do, you'll find out what they'll say is just like every other lab. Virginia Tech, this is a recent one that had numerous violations of the Animal Welfare Act. Cow 488 was noted to be lame on her right rear leg on 9/1/15. The medical record shows the cow was not evaluated until 9/28/15, 27 days later. Cow 769 was noted in the records to have swelling on the third eyelid. No medical evaluation or treatment records could be found. Cow 5090 was noted to be limping on her left rear leg on 11/3/15. She was evaluated and treated on 11/6/15. The veterinarian noted that she needs to be retrimmed in 6 weeks. No record of retrimming, no record of reevaluation was done. So then, whenever I find these violations, I do my best to expose them on Facebook, expose them on Twitter. I send out press releases. My goal is to reach the media. I get a tweet back from Virginia Tech at Behind Lab Doors. We take the welfare of our animals seriously. Please report the issue to our university committee. So you'll always hear the lab, the spokespeople saying, we take animal welfare very seriously. The University of Utah, this is a recent one, basically burned a primate to death. This is from a Fox news station in Salt Lake City. This was a regrettable and unintended consequence caused by the actions of well-meaning individuals who believed they were acting in the animal's best interest. The humane and ethical care and treatment of our research animals is of paramount concern to us. It should be noted that the university exceeds federal safety guidelines for animal research as outlined in the U.S. Department of Agriculture and National Institutes of Health. Not only will they constantly say, but we love our animals, we care about these animals, they're like our children, but then they also always throw in that we follow every rule. We are inspected by the USDA. Well, I don't have exact numbers, but the amount of USDA inspectors for the amount of animal laboratories, and then you have to think about zoos, pet stores, circuses, any business that profits off animals. There's a very small amount of inspectors to cover the billions of animals used for profit. Those who work with research animals at the university take their responsibility very seriously. This incident has prompted us to review our policies. That's another thing, is they always have to have new policies that should have always been in place in the first place. University of Massachusetts Amherst, another lab that killed a primate by burning him or her to death within weeks of each other. The university's director of animal care services says, "The fact that you can reach me indicates we're not trying to cover anything up or hide anything. We're fully accessible, but by campus policy, I'm not at liberty to discuss this." This just kind of talks about how, what happened. It did not detail the use of warming pads, so they used an alternative method that led to the animals being burned to death. UC Davis, small lamb was killed. A small lamb was put in a crate after surgery, shortly after surgery, with his or her mother. The young lamb who had just had surgery was crushed to death on a 4-hour ride from UC Davis to a different research facility. So their spokesperson says, "At UC Davis, we take animal welfare very seriously and make every effort to protect the health of the animals in our care. Animal research benefits human health." So they'll always throw in, as much as we care about our animals, as much as we follow every rule and we're inspected by all the USDA inspectors and we follow everything to the T, you're always going to have them say, and their comments with, "We have to do this to cure cancer and protect human health." So the UC Davis inspectors from the USDA routinely tour our facilities, and we're accredited by the independent group. As expected, like I've made it clear, those who support animal experimentation will always claim that they deeply care about the animals in their care. Whenever you read an article about a violation of the Animal Welfare Act, you're always going to hear that animal welfare is so important. But really what it comes down to is if anyone cared about animal welfare, no one would be in the business of experimenting on them and killing them. We always have to remember money is always their number one priority. There is a lot of money in this business. I'm in Chicago, and Northwestern University is one of my biggest targets. There's a researcher at Northwestern who's been getting paid a 6-figure grant every year for over 20 years to do basically the same experiment. He gets a new batch of 14 kittens, and he experiments on them, kills them. He might tweak the protocol a little bit, and then he gets a grant the next year to do it again. How is he helping human health in any way? He's not. He's becoming pretty much a millionaire by testing on animals. So these are the things that CFES and other groups are trying to expose, and we need your help to do that. One thing when the spokespeople are always talking about how much they love the animals, they never mention, and this is something Jerry brought up, is they never bring up the point of how many people die every year from pharmaceuticals and adverse drug reactions. This little picture is taken off the FDA's website. So adverse drug reactions are the 4th leading cause of death ahead of pulmonary disease, diabetes, AIDS, pneumonia, accidents, and automobile deaths. Over 2 million serious ADRs are annually, 100,000 deaths. And these are from drugs that were deemed safe in animals and then given to humans. You can find that right there on the FDA's website. In addition to animal experimentation obviously being cruel and unreliable, we always have to remember that these animals are living very unnatural lives. They're living in cold steel cages. They're living in constant fear of the next painful procedure. They're likely hearing work in their physical state. So humans who develop diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Huntington's, and disorders like schizophrenia, PTSD, depression, They all have very personal individual experiences. Diet, traumatic experiences, the use or abuse of pharmaceutical or recreational drugs, the use of alcohol, all family history, all these things contribute to how a person gets disease. You stick an animal in a cage and try to infect them with one of these diseases, it's simply not going to work. It's not going to give us any real answers. And cancer, heart disease, diabetes, all the maladies that the U.S. has plenty of, are very alive and well. I'm sure everybody in this room knows somebody who has died of cancer or has cancer currently. We've been enslaving, torturing, killing, dissecting animals for centuries, not just decades, but centuries. And why is cancer still around? So we can participate in all the walks, runs, we can pour buckets of water overhead to raise money for animal research. And we're not going to cure it as long as we keep funding a method that is unreliable. We have to start looking at humane and reliable methods. It's high time for prevention, which is one of the most important things we can do. Like these two talked about, is having a healthy diet, a vegan diet, exercise. And there's amazing new advanced technology such as the organs on the chips. Here's just a quote I threw in from a veterinary surgeon saying, why on earth are beagle dogs, which most of you probably know beagles are the most used dog in animal experimentation. I would certainly never use a parrot to test drugs for horses, so why use dogs or any other animal to test human drugs? Humans share, he also says that it's less about the genes the humans share with other species and more about how the genes interact with and network. The very fact that drug-induced liver damage is on the rise despite these very drugs being tested on rats and beagles beforehand reiterates the fact that animal testing remains unreliable. So my presentation today really is to shine a light on the fact that animal research does not work. We are always finding constant violations of the Animal Welfare Act, the negligence, the incompetence. So if a researcher cannot remember to water an animal, which we have uncovered numerous times, laboratories that animals have died because they were dehydrated, they didn't have access to water. Or you have a veterinary assistant who decides to take matters into their own hands and kills an animal. If we have constant negligence like this, how can we ever trust the research they're supposed to be doing? How can we trust them to train future doctors? So one doesn't need to be a scientist to prove that that animal experimentation is wrong. You just have to share the information and get the information out to the public. There's a big myth in this field, and the media and those who profit off animal experimentation have been very good at making the public think that we have to do this to cure disease. We have to experiment. It's unfortunate, but we have to do it. It's not true. So what my purpose is, and I hope yours as well, is to combat that myth at every chance we can. Basically, the best way you can help is, you can help do your own research, share CFPS posts. Whenever I find a violation of the Animal Welfare Act, I post it on my Facebook page, I tweet it. Please share these things. Please check out SANE and any other organization fighting to end this. That's really the best way to help, and I don't know how I'm doing. Good? Okay. Thank you very much for your time.